Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Forced Assignment podcast. My name's Ethan, and
My name's Sam.
today we're going to talk about video games, and we're going to talk about the meaning of life and the value of life within these games. So, Sam, I think one of the things we wanted to talk about as we were looking at ethics and morals and life and death before we even got to video games was talking about what kind of moral authorities are there to frame the discussion.
Yep.
Because I think that's really, really important. And I think that there's a few. I think we look at things like religious views and then secular views and stuff like that. I think at what point do we understand the value of life from that, and who's in charge of all that? Do you have any thoughts about these things?
Well, I think on top of that as well, you could chuck in there like atheism and permadeath. Where there's like, that's it. Like one life and good put. I think that's an important, another comparative kind of religion to look at in that sense of morals and stuff like that.
And at what point is, and I think one of the things we want to talk about in this podcast is, at what point is this good for people? Is this like, what do people think about dying and being killed in video games? And is the value of life in video games even an important thing to talk about and think about? Almost all of these moral authorities have a perception that life is really, really valuable and really important to maintain and sustain.
So, Ethan, when we get into being killed in games, I think it's important to think about the different ways or the different things that happens after you get killed in a game. So I think death in video games isn't really have anything to do with the end of life anymore.
Yeah,
I kind of noticed it's kind of now reduced to a game mechanic. So there's different styles of being killed in games.
Yeah.
I think there's lives, but then you also get to the more, I guess, almost realistic version of like permadeath. So in Minecraft hardcore mode. And I think that changes the way you play the game entirely.
For sure.
And the mechanic isn't just there for no purpose. I think the mechanic's great thing is that it causes you to stop and to think about, well, how did that happen and why did it happen? Yeah. And how do I not make that happen again?
I think so something that I found is that theorists and people who make games call this idea of dying in a game a fail state. When you it's been from the very, very beginning of video games, as you've either lose your health or you die or you get this game over screen. And this game over screen is this idea of, actually even the loading screen of Fortnite, that's a fail state. And this idea of dying in a game isn't actually losing.
Yeah.
Like I've read that it's actually a part of winning. It's coming to an understanding of reality through failing. Like it's actually going and learning through failure. And so it's actually not death when you're getting killed. It's actually, oh damn, I stuffed up. Like I failed. And so you're in this fail state. And then as you play the game, every action is thinking about that fail state and going, how can I avoid that? How can I get around it? And I think that we say death, but it actually is just game over. That's a great segue into the whole killing others thing, because we have this idea of killing others that are NPCs.
Yep.
So just non-playable characters. Yep. And then there's online, and we're killing people that are actually playing.
Yeah.
And they are reacting, and they are getting upset or getting knocked out or whatever.
Yeah, so when it comes to is it okay or not if we're attaching ourselves or not to killing these people, I don't think it's as black and white as a yes or no, which is, frustrating answer.
Yeah.
Like, come on, I just want black and white answer.
Yeah, exactly right. But that's all right.
And so in one sense, it's not good that we detach ourselves. Because like I was saying earlier about not talking about death, there's actually a whole study done around death anxiety as a Western culture, which actually refers to the emotional distress provoked by the anticipation of the non-existence of yourself. So there's 8 components of fear of death actually, where there's the fear of the dying process, the fear of premature death, fear for significant others, like what's going to happen to them, phobic fear of death, fear of being destroyed, fear of the body after death, fear of the unknown, and fear of the dead. Those are 8 different topics that can be hit by anyone. Like anyone can suffer from that. I know can definitely tick a few of those off when I think about death. Yeah, and so it actually, there's been research done that shows that death education is more effective in relieving death anxiety and changing attitudes towards the subject when it is experiential rather than didactic. So there's a game called A Mortician's Tale.
Yes.
A mortician is basically someone who prepares dead bodies. And so A Mortician's Tale represents a chance to live the experience of interacting, although it is like virtually, with physical death. It's not hiding away. And the whole game evolves around this. When the player engages in the process of preparing the deceased, it's also an opportunity for overcoming the fear of the dead body. And this, I think this is the thing for Western society, because we have a tendency to avoid contact with the bodies of the dead, whereas when it's it's a crucial step in the mourning process in Eastern cultures. Like, so it is and it isn't, depending on the context of where you're from. Like,
for sure.
I think us as Westerners could definitely do a better job of talking and starting the conversation of death. And where does it lead, or if it leads, to anything. I think there's definitely a thing there where we should be caring about what we're doing, but it's also just a game in a way. But how far does that argument go, I guess, is the question.
Well, I think so. Some reading I've done is like the idea of who you are when you were in these games. I think is a really big thought about it. Like, because we talk about the idea of cyberspace and how you can play with identity. The idea that nobody really knows who you are because you've created this new identity. And
such a good thing and such a bad thing. Right? Double-edged sword.
For sure. And you get this thing like you're not actually a person in there. You're your avatar. And so the other people in this game aren't the person; they're the avatar. And so like you play a GoldenEye.
Classic.
Sick game. But you're Bond. Right. You're not. I'm not Ethan.
No.
Right. I'm Bond when I'm in this game. And so as a result, it's a very different experience, I think, and a very different mental thought process. And this idea that, so academic discussions have talked about these virtual and digital technologies being spaces and creating identities that triumphed over the physical realm as people could escape lived reality and act freely so they can do whatever in this other realm, this realm of the technological sublime, this cyberspace. It is untainted by social realities and inequalities of da-da-da. But this idea of being untainted by social realities, like it is not an issue to do this in the game. Okay, for starters, have you played many video games?
No, I haven't played many. I think I mostly play Wii games like Mario Kart. I'm boss at Mario Kart.
Oh, yes.
Solid. Playing a lot of games.
I'm boss at Just Dance.
Oh, very nice.
What was it?
Just Dance.
Oh, Just Dance.
Good game. Well done. I think
games where people don't die. That's okay.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Well, as a lot of your experience with gaming is stuff where there isn't death in these games, right? And so there's no killing other people and no getting killed.
No, I don't like that very much. It's bad.
Why not?
I'm not big on violence, so I just never seem to like it. And how real it is as well. Like, it can be quite realistic, the simulations, and I just think it's pretty disturbing. I think Fortnite is okay because you don't actually see blood and stuff, but especially in very vivid and gruesome games, it just doesn't. It makes me feel quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, so the more realistic the game, the more the more the death seems real. Does that sound about right, Kate?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Thank you very much.
Thanks heaps, Katie.
That's amazing insight from Katie Anderson. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Say bye, Katie.
Bye.
Bye, Katie.
Bye.